If you're trying to define your ideal client, there's a good chance you're doing a lot of guessing. You sit down and you think, who do I want to work with? And you might come up with some things like executives, business owners, people who want to improve their mindset. Sounds okay, right? They're at a certain level in their career. They sound like good clients to have. You can make some educated guesses about what these people might care about, but it's way too broad to be useful. When your idea of your ideal client is vague, everything you create for them becomes vague too. Your content, your outreach emails, and your offers will all sound generic because they're trying to hit multiple targets that are so far away that they're basically just blurry dots. We want to make our target big, clear, and easy to hit. Here's a simple example. Let's say you define your customer as a 30 to 40-year-old executive. That is a wide net. Different industries, different problems, different priorities. You could talk about almost anything and be shooting in the right general direction, but none of it will feel specific or 100% relevant to these people. Now compare that to something more focused. 30 to 40-year-old woman who left a career in law or finance to raise a family, and now they're ready to return to work. We can call her Julia. Julia feels a bit out of the loop, a little bit rusty maybe. She's worried about having to start from a lower position on the corporate ladder. She may also be feeling conflicted about going back to work. Excited on one hand, but she's had a few years to really connect with her family at home. It's a big decision. When you understand someone on that level, the whole dynamic changes. You don't have to guess what to say. You can speak directly to her situation. And when you try and write content or create coaching programs for everyone, you won't really connect with anyone. But for Julia, you could come up with 10 or 100 content ideas for LinkedIn or blog posts or however you share your expertise online that will connect with her situation and her thought process. So off the top of my head, you could write about if you're worried about re-entering the workforce after raising your family, do X, Y, and Z. Or how to get back into your law career after a 5-year break. Or why you should get excited about going back to work after raising kids. This kind of content makes you the obvious choice for Julia when she's looking for guidance, not because you post more content or you appear on every social media channel or because you're great on camera. It's because you're more relevant. Maybe you were Julia, so you know exactly what she's going through, in which case you have insights and experience that is immediately valuable. Or maybe not, but you don't figure this out by thinking harder about what you want. You figure it out by getting out there, talking to people, and finding out what they need. If you haven't been in Julia's position as a coach, you have all the tools you need to help her, but you might still need to do a bit of research to find out the specific pain points, self-limiting beliefs, and the language people like Julia use, so you can connect with her and help her more effectively. The easiest way to understand your ideal client is to have real conversations. Not coaching calls or sales calls, just low-pressure, friendly chats to learn about your future audience. Look through your contacts and networks and tell people what you're trying to learn and who you want to speak with, and ask friends and colleagues if they know anyone who is going through it or has been through that specific issue. You probably already know people like Julia, and if you don't, you almost definitely know people who do. So just ask. If you're specific in your request and someone springs to mind, that person will tell you. If not, no big deal. You're trying to understand what they're struggling with, what they're worried about, what they've already tried, what language or phrases that they use to describe their own problems. And if you can have 10 conversations with the kinds of people you want to work with over the course of a few weeks, you will quickly discover all kinds of problems, and you'll start to see patterns too. Some problems will be unique to each person, but a lot of them will overlap. And that's where your real insight comes from. That's what shapes the kind of offers you come up with, what specific phrases you use on your website, and what kinds of articles or social posts you can create. Not guesswork. And niching down like this gets pushed back all the time from all kinds of professionals and service providers because it seems like you're cutting off opportunities. But what you're actually doing is becoming known and recognized for what you do and who you help, instead of disappearing into the crowd of people who try to help everybody. People can understand what you do, they remember you, and they can recommend you. It doesn't mean you can't also help people with other problems, but your message won't be targeted to them, and that's okay. When people come across very targeted content and specialists online, they may not resonate with it personally, but if your positioning is clear, you are memorable. You become the coach or therapist who helps a certain kind of person with this specific problem. And they'll mentally file that away, and when they hear someone expressing the same problem as Julia, they'll think of you and they'll point people towards you. We can't do that with a generic executive coach. No matter how good they are, they're not instantly memorable. So instead of asking, who do I want to work with? A better question is, who do I understand best? That's where you can have the biggest impact. And if you want to try this for yourself, here are a few questions to get you started. Who have you already helped? What problems come up again and again? What problems have you dealt with in your own life? And what do people ask you for help with? That's usually where your niche is hiding. And when you figure it out, lean into it. Speak directly to the right kinds of people. Find different ways to express and solve the problems that these people have. And make sure all your online activity and profiles are targeted to your ideal client. You don't need to guess. You can go through this process in a couple of weeks and start building something that actually connects with people. And if you need some help with this process, there's a link to a free short call in the description to figure out where you are and where you want to go next. See you next time.